ingredients for a new British Prime Minister. Compassion, intelligence, humility and respect, oratory, empathy, integrity, honesty, persistence, and leadership. Put them into the pressure cooker of Westminster. Let's see what's brewed. Hey, what?
Yes. Boris Maximus Cincinnatus, yes. Told you I'd be back. Ha-ha.
Oh, bollocks.
Hello there, Tarky here. Well, what a nightmare. No sooner has Liz Truss gone than the Tory party, of course, have to look for a new leader and therefore Prime Minister. Probably a fair shoe-in was Rishi Sunak, who came runner-up to Liz Truss. What was not a surprise, really, since Johnson himself hinted at it at his resignation speech, was the return of Boris Johnson. The Tory Backbench 1922 committee has put in place a number of perhaps safeguards to try to reduce the chances of getting another loony. Whether that will be strong enough, I don't know. Basically, they have decided that the aim is to try to make sure that only the parliamentary party gets a say in who is to be next leader and Prime Minister. A minimum nomination number of 100 MPs is required for this round. They must be in by 2 p.m. on Monday, the 24th of October, and then there will be voting in the evening. If there are 2 candidates left by the end of Monday evening, then it will, unfortunately, have to go to the membership. This is where things get tricky. There are basically 3 likely candidates. Rishi Sunak, who, as of the time of filming, does actually have 100 nominations and is therefore a shoe-in to the Monday round. Boris Johnson, who rushed back from his Caribbean holiday, having motivated people whilst the weekend was going on to try to cheerlead for him. And perhaps Penny Mordaunt, who was 3rd in the September runoff. Mordaunt's best chance is likely to be as the non-Rishi candidate. It may be that she is, after all, the unifier, those people that can't stand Johnson and those people that can't stand Sunak. It seems unlikely at the moment. However, there may be an issue for Johnson in which he doesn't actually clear that 100 vote hurdle. Whilst he does have his cheerleaders, and whilst he is of course popular with the grassroots Tory party members, and therefore if it goes to a vote he is likely to be a shoe-in again, he doesn't seem to have the 100 nominations necessary at the moment. Of course that may change by tomorrow afternoon. Needless to say, if Boris Johnson is re-elected as leader of the Tory party, this can only do even more harm to their already critically holed reputation for any sort of probity, integrity and any sort of chance of getting re-elected in the next election, if nothing else. Most of the problems of Liz Truss's government at least originated within Boris Johnson's. Let's just remind ourselves of a small flavour of the reasons why Johnson should not be re-elected as leader of the Conservative Party. The list is so long, I'm going to cherry pick here slightly. First off, Partygate. Johnson became the first sitting Prime Minister to be criminally sanctioned whilst in office for the numerous parties held within the number 10 environs. Much of this was put down to a very lax attitude on the part of Johnson that infected senior staff, but nevertheless, it's down to Johnson. Interestingly, Sunak did get swept up in this and got his own fine, but I suspect he is likely to be the more innocent victim, where he happened to sort of put his neck round the door and it was seen. Johnson is definitely the offender here. There's also the mystery wallpaper at number 10. The Cats of Kabul, where Johnson claimed he had no knowledge about the charity flights out of these sanctuary animals, when a whistleblower later announced that, oh yes, he did. The denial of an affair with Jennifer Arcuri. The attempted appointment of Chris Pincher as a government whip after being accused of groping 2 men. Johnson claimed he was not aware of the allegations, but he actually was, and still went ahead anyway. The VIP line for PPE supplies during the COVID pandemic. This, again, is part of the whole Tory party, but Johnson is at its head. The VIP line was basically for friends, chums, associates and donors of the Conservative Party, many of whom had no experience whatsoever in supplying PPE, to obtain contracts through a preferential line. The High Court has since ruled that this VIP line was illegal. The decision to defend MP Owen Paterson, found by the Parliamentary Commissioner to have committed a, quote, egregious breach of lobbying rules, unquote, designed to prevent corruption. Rather than permit him to be suspended, as the regulations required, Johnson backed Paterson, ignoring and even attempting to change the rules altogether. Paterson eventually resigned, and the by-election for his seat went to the Lib Dems, the first sign of an emphatic collapse of the Conservative vote. Plus, of course, the general COVID response, his oven-ready Brexit deal that was never oven-ready, that he used to bamboozle his way into power in December 2019, which his government then promptly spent the next 6 months preparing to undo and simply throw away. So much for an oven-ready deal. As I say, the list of Johnson's wrongdoing just goes on and on and on. Although he does have his cheerleaders within the Conservative Party, there are many serious senior Tories who have said that if Johnson runs, it will divide the party even more. Even some of his previous cheerleaders are strongly advising him not to run, to bide his time and maybe think about coming back perhaps after the next general election, even in opposition as leader of the Conservative Party. It's quite clear that the public no longer trust him. The few parliamentary cheerleaders may not be sufficient to get him into that contest, and perhaps it won't come down to a vote put to the members. As I said earlier, the trouble is, if it's put to the members, they are so much in love with the idea of Boris Johnson and so willing to ignore his long list of misdemeanours and the trashing of British political life that they would almost certainly vote him back into power. His first day back in the office would probably be Monday next week, which would be October the 31st. And wouldn't that really be a horrible Halloween? Chin chin.
I don't know, maybe there's something wrong with the recipe. Perhaps it was the broccoli. Let's have a look. This worketh not on the Tories. Typical.